Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Max Hartgraves, and I will be the acting commission secretary today. The following is the April 21st, 2022, 698th Arizona Racing Commission meeting taking place via Google Meets. I will call the roll. Chair Coolidge.
Present.
Commissioner Garay.
Present.
And Commissioner Olson.
Present.
Thank you. We have a quorum. The time is 10:31, and the floor is yours, Chair Coolidge.
Thank you, sir. I'll call to order the 698th Arizona Racing Commission meeting of April 21st, 2022. Move to item B, executive session. I'll move that we enter executive session for our update on Sims versus Sims et al.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Chair Coolidge and a second by Commissioner Garay. I will call the roll. Chair Coolidge.
Yes.
Commissioner Garay.
Yes.
And Commissioner Olson.
Yes.
Thank you. The time is 10:31, and we will enter executive session. Looks like all commissioners are in attendance, so I will call the roll. Chair Coolidge,
Present.
Commissioner Gray,
Present.
and Commissioner Olson.
Present.
Thank you. The time is 10:44 and we will resume open session.
Thank you, sir. I'll make a motion that we proceed as discussed in executive session.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Chair Coolidge and a second by Commissioner Gray. I will call the roll. Chair Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner Gray,
Yes.
and Commissioner Olson.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes.
Thank you. We'll pop down to action item C1, which is the request for Cochise County Fair Horse Racing Commission approval for the 3-year county fair racing permits. Looks like we have everything in order, but I will open it up to the department for any other information they might have before we move forward.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, this is Brian from the department. I don't have anything further to add with the exception of, we did do an inspection on Thursday, April 7th of the facility. Did ask them to do a few minor changes, paint the rail, make sure they were clearly marked, and the poles on the infield as well. Other than that, we do recommend approval.
Great. And we will lean on the department to ensure that those changes get done. That said, I move that we approve the Cochise Fair Horse Racing Commission 3-year county fair racing permit.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Chair Coolidge and a second by Commissioner Gray. I will call the roll. Chair Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner Gray,
Yes.
and Commissioner Olson.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes.
Move to C2, the Santa Cruz County Fair and Rodeo Association 2022 race dates. Looks like everything's in order on our end. Mr. Duncan?
Yes, sir, Chairman Coolidge. Sonoyta was previously approved in October of 2020. They submitted race dates for April 30th, May 1st, May 7th, and May 8th. This year, they do not intend to race on April 30th or May 1st and would like to get your approval to cancel those 2 race dates. Commission does department does recommend that Saturday the 30th and Sunday, May 1st be canceled.
I do have a
Right.
question on this because May 7th is Kentucky Derby Day and Turf Paradise is also racing that day. And I just wanted to make sure we have the proper stewards with the proper licensing and veterinarian staff available for that.
Yes, we do. We've contracted a few others and we will have coverage.
Okay.
That said, I would move that we approve removing April 30th and May 1st. I guess we would, let's approve that we make the adjustments on the race dates for the Santa Cruz County Fair and Rodeo Association race dates of 2022.
I'll
Second.
second. I'll let Tracy have that.
Thank you. I have a motion by Chair Coolidge and a second by Commissioner Olson. I will call the roll. Chair Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner Olson,
Yes.
and Commissioner Gray.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes.
We'll move to C3, Rillito Park Racing, requesting the Dark Day simulcast approval for Saturday, May 7th, Saturday, May 21st, and June 11th. Mr. Duncan?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. The department does recommend that Rillito Park be able to do Dark Day simulcast for all 3 Saturdays, May 7th, May 21st, and June 11th.
Looks like they have everything in order on our end. I don't see any issues here. We'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the Rillito Dark Day simulcast approvals for Saturday, May 7th, Saturday, May 21st, and June 11th.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Chair Coolidge and a second by Commissioner Gray. I will call the roll. Chair Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner Gray,
Yes.
and Commissioner Olson.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes.
Move to C4, request from Turf Paradise, OTB for, looks like it's just called third base. See, we have Mr. Johnson who's signed to speak. Mr. Johnson, you want to give us the update here and please add how close it is to the next OTB, just for my understanding.
Yes, Commissioner, Chairman, Commissioners, thank you for this opportunity to speak. Third base, first of all, it's important to know third base was an off-track betting location for us before the pandemic. During the pandemic, because business was so hard to conduct at those times, the owner was forced out of business at her location. This OTB, now what she ended up doing was she was able to make a deal with another landlord a couple miles down the street. And so this new location is just a relocation, so to speak, of her existing, of the bar that she used to have that had off-track betting in the past. She is within 5 miles of another off-track betting location of ours, but she's not any closer than she was previously. So she's actually a little bit further away than she was prior to her moving.
Got it. Can you, just for my purpose, tell me how close this is to the next approved OTB? Do you have that information?
Yes, I would need a minute to get that information for you, but I could get it very quickly.
I'd appreciate that. Any questions from my fellow commissioners on this location?
No questions on this location, but for me, the Interstate Horse Act was all about protecting the live racing product, the gate handle. And for me personally, I have no problem approving this one, but I think going forward, I'm going to need to see some action at Turf Paradise to make the place a more invitable place for customers to actually come to. It just seems like we're cannibalizing the live product here in Arizona to create all these OTPs, and that's all I have to say on that.
Okay. So the answer to the question is, it is approximately 2.5 miles down the street from a location in Ahwatukee called Bleachers. But it is, historically, we had a location called Copper Steel that was in between those two. Copper Steel was another casualty of the pandemic. And so where you used to have 3 OTBs in a proximity of 5 miles, now you have 2.
Got it. Thank you. Mr. Duncan, looks like we have all the prior approvals for this location, unless I'm missing something on my end.
Mr. Chairman, that is correct. You should have all the documentation.
Thank you, sir. And I'll echo what Commissioner Gorey said, and this is frankly what I tried to do a couple months ago by bringing parties to the table to get everything put together on the simulcast side. So I understand where you're coming from on the OTB end. But we've moved forward there, and it sounds like the simulcast side has decided on both sides that they're not willing to do anything moving forward. So business as usual. I'll move that we go ahead and approve the request for Turf Paradise on the OTB third base location.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Chair Coolidge and a second by Commissioner Gray. I will call the roll. Chair Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner Gray,
Yes.
and Commissioner Olson.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes.
Moving to C5 of no one's question mark here. We've heard this one a couple of times. This is the off-track betting facility for Padre Murphy's. We do have a fair amount of people that are signed up to do it. I'm going to assess a 3-minute window. We will not be going back and forth and having a legal battle, just to put that out there. Looks like we have multiple people from Turf Paradise and multiple people from Arizona Downs. Before we do that, I would like to hear from the owner of Padre Murphy's, Mr. Gill, if you're on the line. Would love to get your 2 cents on this.
Yeah, I'm here, and good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Thank you for letting me speak. I know this is kind of a back and forth thing and everybody has their own opinions on it, but again, being the owner of this business, running the day-to-day operations, I feel it's within my best interest, my company's best interest, to have Padre Murphy's operate with Turf Paradise. I'm asking for an approval today so we can all put this behind us and move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you jumping on multiple times to talk about your company and what you want to do moving forward there. Brian, I'm not even going to try.
Well, I do have a question for Mr. Gill.
Go ahead,
Yes.
Commissioner.
Have you spoken to legal counsel about your contract that the previous owners of Padre Murphy's had and the sale? Because to me, it does look like from what I'm seeing in the contracts that you did take over the contract with Arizona Downs, and my understanding is you're still paying rent, and you have not given them notice. So I'm just curious if you have talked to the council to get advice from them as to how you should be handling this, whether you should get into arbitration with Arizona Downs before moving forward.
Right. Yeah, this was an asset purchase. I know we can go back and forth. They can say what they want. We can say what we want. This was an asset purchase with no novation agreement in place or anything signed in that nature. I have not cashed any rent checks that Arizona Downs has given me. I was only given 15 out of the 23 pages of whatever they had in place with Padre Murphy's Glendale LLC, which is not my entity. So yes, I have spoken to my legal counsel about that. And my decision stands firm.
Any other questions from our commissioners on that?
Not from Mr. Gill.
Brian, like I said, I'm not even going to try to butcher your last name, but I'll give you 3 minutes, sir. Go ahead.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. This is Brian Imbornoni. I represent TP Racing, doing business as Turf Paradise. TP Racing has met all requirements to operate a wagering facility at Padre Murphy's. It's submitted a signed contract with a new owner, articles of incorporation, a plan of operation, and approval from the city. With respect, its request should be approved at this time. The last item, the City of Phoenix approval was granted on April 6th. Arizona Downs appeared and made the same objections to the city that it's raising here. The City Council heard and rejected all of these arguments. And with respect, the Commission should do the same thing. In simplest terms, Arizona Downs has no right to operate at Padre Murphy's because it has no contract with the new owner. The new owner acquired the business as an asset purchase. It purchased the tables, chairs, equipment, etc. from the previous owner. It did not purchase the seller's LLC and did not assume any of its contracts. This is explicit from paragraph 5 of the purchase agreement. It provides that buyer shall not assume any liabilities or obligations of seller of any nature or type. So we submit the contract terms couldn't be clearer. The new owner did not assume Arizona Downs OTB contract. Now, Arizona Downs argues that it may have a breach of contract claim against the prior owner. It may have property rights against the real property under a sublease theory. As we've argued, these claims have no legal merit, but there's a larger point. It's not the role of the Commission to adjudicate private contract disputes. If Arizona Downs believes it's been wrongfully excluded, it can go to court to bring claims against the prior owner, the landlord, or even the new owner. The courts have the jurisdiction, the expertise, and the tools to handle these claims. These are not issues for the Commission, respectfully, and not proper grounds for objection to TP Racing's request. This point was covered in the Director's guidance to permittees on March 11, 2022, and it's a long letter, but the upshot is that when there is change of ownership of an OTB location, it's up to the permittee to obtain an agreement with the new owner. If they fail to do that, as Arizona Downs did here, it's not the role of the commission to bail out a permittee who lost an OTB location through legitimate competition. My time is short, as a final point, we believe that Arizona Downs is asking the commission to violate the law. ARS 5-111 provides that a permittee can only conduct wagering at, quote, additional facilities that are owned or leased by a permittee, unquote. Here, Arizona Downs does not have a contract with the new owner. Therefore, it can't meet this requirement for conducting wagering at Padre Murphy's. And this is reinforced by the...
That's time, sir. Appreciate it. And I'd let you run a little bit over. I know Mr. Langhofer is next to speak. Mr. Langhofer, I gave them 3:30, so I'm going to give you the same.
Thank you, Chair Coolidge. I hope I won't need that much time. Mr. Gill said that he hopes you'll approve this today, so it's we can all put this behind us. And that's just not possible today. And this feels a little bit like Groundhog Day, as you know, because we've been here before. I think we've discussed this twice before. You've already voted that the parties should work this out between themselves. And in our view, this serially calling for the commission to consider the same issue again and again and again when nothing material has changed since last meeting is a waste of your time and ours. And it's cost our client quite a bit of money, of course, to always prepare for and appear at these hearings. But I just want to explain what is new from the last meeting. None of this is material, but here's what's new. We've now seen the asset purchase agreement from the old owner to the new one. And one of the assets that it very clearly conveys is the contract with Arizona Downs. That's absolutely an asset that Mr. Gill wanted to get because he was making money off of it, right? You wouldn't want to buy a business without knowing that one of your major streams of revenue isn't secure. So he expressly transferred that asset, the contract with Arizona Downs, as part of his purchase. He also didn't terminate his lease. The lawyers, at least Commissioner Olson will appreciate this point. Arizona Downs had a lease with a sublease of the property with the original owner. The original owner didn't cancel his lease. He transferred the lease to the new owner, and therefore the sublease transfers with it. Arizona Downs is entitled to specific performance to occupy that space. And someone, after he's got the agreement and after he's sure that his income stream won't be interrupted, now he wants to disavow all this, say, I don't have a lease, I didn't buy this asset, this contract, when expressly he did in writing. Since our last meeting, we've been in communication with Mr. Imbernoni. I'm sorry, Brian, for not getting that quite right. And we've offered to sit down and talk to him. We've offered to, I guess he asked and we agreed to show him our contracts. He can show us theirs. We'll try to work this out. Ball was in his court. We talked to him, I want to say it was a day or two before St. Patty's Day. And he said Mr. Gill was busy with all of that. And so he's going to get back to us after St. Patty's Day. It's been, 3-4 weeks. We haven't heard anything. They don't want to talk. They don't want to resolve this. They don't want to go to court because their legal argument's really weak. So they're trying to come back here and get you to just change your mind when you've already decided it. And I don't think there's any good basis for that. So happy to answer questions, but that's our view on this.
Chair, I have a question. Mr. Langhofer, I think your letter mentioned some offer of arbitration or settlement. Is that what you were just referring to in your discussions? Or I just want to make sure I'm understanding what your communications were.
Yeah, so Mr. Imbernoni had contacted us after the last meeting and said he wanted to talk it out. And he may remember the specifics more than me, but I think what his letter said was he wanted to have arbitration or mediation. And even if we agreed to that, they were likely to initiate litigation, like a declaratory judgment action. None of that's happened. We're happy to have a judge decide this. I think that's really inefficient because it seems pretty clear. But they said they demanded immediate mediation, arbitration, and even if we were to do that, they were going to sue. They haven't done that. Ball's been in their court.
Chair, if it's okay, I'd like to hear Brian, I'm sorry, I can't say your last name.
As long as I'm not the only one. Yeah,
Yes.
go ahead.
Inboard, oh, look, I'm screwed up too.
Your perception of the same, I just want to understand from your perspective as well.
Yep, Brian Imbornoni. After the last meeting, we sent a letter trying to comply in good faith with the commission's directive to try to work things out between the parties. We sent a letter to Mr. Langhofer offering to participate in a mediation. We offered to participate in an expedited arbitration. We also asked for copies of relevant documents that we've already now obtained from other purposes. The only response we obtained was a request for documents to be produced by Turf Paradise, documents that we don't think were relevant. There was no substantive response to any request to either mediate or adjudicate. At this point in time, we think that the any suggestion now that we should go arbitrate or mediate is really a delay tactic, with Arizona Downs wanting to stay in place, collect revenue for another 9 months or a year while the parties seek to litigate. The Padre Murphy's facility changed hands in January. Now it's Arizona Downs who are claiming there's a breach of contract, or that they have a sublease to specifically enforce, and they are the ones who should have taken the initiative to assert their rights. Instead, they're sitting on their rights, expecting the commission to use those baseless claims as a basis to indefinitely postpone the approval of Turf Paradise's request. So we submit that Turf Paradise has done everything by the book. You have all the paperwork in place. If Arizona Downs claims that they have rights against Padre Murphy's Glendale or the owner, sublease to enforce, they're the ones who should go to court. But that's not a basis to ask this commission to adjudicate those claims, and the request should be granted unless and until Arizona Downs obtains some relief indicating that they somehow have a contract or sublease. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair, one more follow-up question, if it's okay with you, for Mr. Langhofer.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Mr. Langhofer, I think there was a representation that Arizona Downs appeared in front of the city of Phoenix and made some arguments, and that those arguments were rejected. I don't know if you were the one that made those arguments, but if you could just, I'd like to hear your perception of how that also was adjudicated.
Mr. Langhofer, I believe you're on mute.
Hopefully this works now.
You got it.
Thank you, Commissioner Olson. I wasn't at the Phoenix City Council meeting. My understanding is that the authors appeared and made some statements, and reading between the lines, the City Council's view was kind of like, well, that's interesting, but not really what's before us. The question is whether the City Council is okay with having an OTB site here, and they were. The contract issues I just didn't get into. On the back and forth between Mr. Imbornoni and I, you don't have to take anyone's word for it. I have pulled up on my screen here copies of his letter to us and our most recent email communications. If you actually care about who said what in which sequence, I can put those on the screen and show it to you now.
I think I've gotten my questions answered, and I'll defer to the other commissioners. Thank you.
I'll open it up to the commissioners if anybody else has anything before I make a motion.
Chair, unless Commissioner Garay has any questions, I'd like to make a quick motion for executive session.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Thank you. I have a motion by Commissioner Olson, a second by Commissioner Garay. I will call the roll. Commissioner Olson,
Yes.
Commissioner Garay,
Yes.
and Chair Coolidge.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes. The time is 11:08, and we'll enter executive session.
Max, I think we're all ready. Can you all hear me?
I can hear you.
Max? Should I just call roll
There he is.
since I can see everyone?
Sorry for the delay. Looks like everybody or all commissioners are in attendance, so I will call the roll. Chair Coolidge,
Present.
Commissioner Olson,
Present.
and Commissioner Gray.
Present.
Thank you. The time is 11:35 and we will resume open session.
Thank you. Before we went into executive session, Mr. Author had his hand raised. Mr. Author, if you have something new to add, I'll give you 2 minutes. Maybe you're on mute.
Okay, it was the other Mr. Author that raised his hand, and he is walking right in right now. Thank you. Sorry about that. Chairman, Commissioners, Tom Author. Quickly, a couple things. One, I'm a little uncomfortable with this because we like Mr. Gill. We'd love to do business with him. But he said he never cashed a rent check. He cashed a rent check. He cashed a percentage rent for January. He cashed the base rent for February. As far as the City of Phoenix, the City of Phoenix, they didn't consider any of these arguments. All they care about is a checklist that says, okay, it meets zoning, it meets with the police, all that. They didn't, the contract dispute did not even, we didn't even able to mention it. Again, we have a lease. I don't know if you've seen the affidavit we have from the previous owner, but, and we did this the right way. The previous owner the lease had terminated. He had refused to renew them, and then he called us. We did not call him. Turf pestered Mr. Gill, peppered him with offers until he finally decided, okay, that's a good enough one. See if I can breach this lease. As far as the asset sale, I think you've probably seen the contract in paragraph 1K. It specifically mentions the transfer of the OTB contract from seller to buyer. It also in paragraph I states among the things that are transferred are all state licenses. So we really don't, the real estate argument, we think we win also, but as far as the asset sale, it's specifically mentioned as being transferred. I don't even know why we're here.
30 seconds, sir.
Also, the landlord has not approved this lease. If you approve it as an OTB, the landlord will be confronted with a problem that basically says you're asking me to approve a lease that is in conflict with the one I've already approved. That being our lease with them, and I mean the landlord, not Mr. Gill. So there's no guarantee the landlord's going to approve that either, because he could face some exposure. So
That's your time, sir. I appreciate it. I have an unknown with a hand raised.
And Commissioner Coolidge, this is Kelsey Lundy. I had also requested to speak when I have a minute.
Miss Lundy, go ahead. I'll give you 2 minutes.
Thank you, Commissioner Coolidge, fellow commissioners, Kelsey Lundy, on behalf of TP Racing. I just want to point out a couple of things. One, we have heard from the owner of Padre Murphy's, David Gill, who has sought legal counsel and has been advised that he has the right to determine who he wants to do business with in running the OTB at his location. So we are infringing on his private business owner rights if we do not approve this OTB contract. Also, my understanding from the memo sent out by the racing department to all permittees that even if Arizona Downs has a right to continue their operations, they did not file the proper paperwork to continue that under a new owner. So if in fact that's correct, my understanding is they have not done that. And then lastly, yes, correct. The City of Phoenix looked and said all of the appropriate paperwork has been filed, all the appropriate documents have been filed, and that is how they make their determination. My understanding is that the Arizona Racing Commission is under similar authority, which is all of the paperwork has been submitted, the approvals that were necessary have also been approved, and so it is the Racing Commission's determination that all of the paperwork has been submitted, all of the approvals that are necessary have been obtained. And so therefore, I believe that it is 100% within your authority to go ahead and approve the OTB application for Padre Murphy's with Turf Paradise. And if there are other legal issues between private business owners and private contracts, that is not within the authority of the commission to debate. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other questions or comments from our fellow commissioners? I mean, I think this one's a tough one in that, you know, this is a private matter, and with all the distortion happening on both sides of it. And frankly, you know, it puts the commission in quite a bind, being able to, on one hand, having all the prerequisite documents, and on the other, having a pretty distinct fight on both sides with this. So we're kind of in between a rock and a hard place there. I'd appreciate any comments from any other commissioners or motions to be heard.
Chair, I'll just echo kind of what you said. I think that, you know, it really sounds like a private matter that needs to be determined between the parties, and just echoing and joining in your comments.
And I will echo the two of you.
I'm happy to make a motion if you two are ready.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I'd like to make a motion to continue this matter until the department receives a notice from the parties demonstrating that they have come to a legally binding decision related to this private contract dispute, including but not limited to a legally binding settlement agreement, arbitration agreement, or court order.
I will second that.
Thank you. I have a motion by Commissioner Olson and a second by Commissioner Garay. I will call the roll. Commissioner Olson,
Yes.
Commissioner Garay,
Yes.
and Chair Coolidge.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes.
We'll move to action item C6, which is the simulcast agreements pursuant to ARS 5-112U. Before we get started on this, I would like to have Mr. Director Cochise speak to everyone. I'm a little concerned with what I'm hearing from multiple sources about simulcasts happening without prior approvals. I know there was a cease and desist type letter being sent out, and I want to make sure that we are extremely clear that without the prior approvals, you are breaking the law, and would appreciate any feedback from the director.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I did send a letter out to the permittees some time back indicating regarding change of ownership situations that it is the permittee's responsibility to do their own due diligence, to make all the determinations that all paperwork and licensing is in place on new ownership. And if there was a sale of a facility, that it is their responsibility to ensure that OTB contracts were either transferred and accepted with an novation agreement or otherwise. And they just have to submit all proper paperwork in order to proceed. So with that being said, you know, they have been noticed.
Sorry, guys. I was talking to myself on Zoom. So I have two speakers, Mr. Billingsley and Mr. Author, signed up to speak on this. You guys need to say anything?
No, typically we would wait until there was an issue with respect to 6A or 7A. And if we need to address it, we'd be glad to address it, Chairman Coolidge. But is that what you mean?
Addressing your simulcast issue?
No, the topic 6 and 7. Or are we, is there some other issue that's before us right now?
Not,
It's something about a
not
cease and
agendized.
desist order. I don't know anything about that, so.
Not an agendized issue. So we'll go ahead and move to 6A, which is Arizona Downs, Keeneland, Hawthorne, Will Rogers, Belmont, Belterra, Mountaineer, Fairmont, Churchill Downs, Louisiana Downs, Finger Lakes, Hastings, Delta Downs, and Sunray Park. Looks like all the paperwork is in order, unless Mr. Duncan, I am seeing anything missing as we discussed.
Chair, if I may.
Yes, ma'am.
Just a quick question for Mr. Duncan. I noticed, I think it's page 593 of our packet. There wasn't a signature for Sunray. Do we have an updated copy with both signatures? I think it was just one-sided.
No, the latest I got is Sunray is not going to be running their meet, so that one is actually going to be taken off.
Thank you for the update. Chair, you're on mute.
Commissioner Coolidge, I apologize. This is Kelsey Lundy. I don't know if it's appropriate for me to speak, but I had a question.
Go ahead, Miss Lundy.
I'm sorry. You had asked a question in regards to simulcasting of racetracks and races that were not authorized by the commission, and I believe that Director Casillas did not answer your question. He answered the question as to what the directives were sent out for OTBs, but my question is can we get the answer to, are there OTBs that have simulcast and taken bets on racetracks that have not been approved by the commission?
That was not an, this was not an agendized item,
Yeah.
and an answer to something like that, I think, needs to be on the agenda.
This is something that we'll be working with the department to ensure that people are not breaking the law, which I think is what Miss Lundy is trying to get at. So I'll make sure that we have that communication as the department is well aware that they are not in the position to let people not break the law. So I will communicate that accordingly. Okay, so back to 6A. Unless any of my commissioners have any other questions, I'll make a motion.
I did have just one question for the HBPA. How long out is their agreement? Because I'm seeing some of these dates out to like October 2022, and I don't know if they currently have an agreement that long with the HBPA.
Commissioner Gray, Leroy Guessman with the HBPA. Yes, all of ours agreements with Turf Paradise are through September 1st. That's when our agreement expires.
What about Arizona Downs?
We have not reached a new agreement with them. We just met yesterday to try and put some dates together. As soon as we have that stuff finalized, we will have a contract put together for this year.
But you do have an agreement in place right now, correct? That expires here in a few weeks.
Yes, I believe it goes till June 1st or May 31st. I don't have it in front of me, but that's my recollection.
Okay.
Mr. Author, I see you have your hand raised again. Do you have something that you would like to add as far as Sunray Park or something that has to do with the simulcast agreements that we're discussing right now?
Yes, I just wanted to clear up I'm not sure that Mr. Guessman was answering Commissioner Gorey's question. We do have the consents for simulcasting that were given to us by the HBPA, some of which run into December, November, September, May, November, July, October, September. I think that was Commissioner Gray's question. Are some of these consents run a long way? So we do have those. Separate question, of course, has to do with our contracts for running the meet, and that's a separate topic. Maybe I misunderstood what Commissioner Gray was asking, but I hope I've answered the question.
No, you have. I just wanted to make sure there was an agreement. You had the approval from HBPA for these dates.
Yeah, we do. April 5th, 2022 letter from HBPA.
Mr. Gussman, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that on the Sunray issue, I believe Sunray is still running their meet. However, they do not have a contract with the HBPA in New Mexico, and therefore New Mexico did not approve any of their signals coming out. So there is no horseman approval of Sunray to come into the state of Arizona.
Got it. And Mr. Gussman, one more follow-up for that. You don't assume that will happen?
I have not talked to the the New Mexico HBPA. I just know it has not happened as of yet.
Understood. Thank you, sir. Appreciate the extra info on that. That said, I will move that we approve 6A action items 1 through 12.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Chair Coolidge and a second by Commissioner Garay. I will call the roll. Chair Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner Garay,
Yes.
and Commissioner Olson.
Yes.
Thank you. Simulcast agreements A1 through 12 have been approved.
I'll conditionally approve, in particular to making sure that we have a horseman's agreement for action item 6A13, particularly Sunray Park.
I'm sorry. Could you repeat?
I would conditionally move that we approve Sunray Park, considering the department receive all prerequisite documents, and then leave it to the department to enact so that we don't have to come back to the commission.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Chair Coolidge and a second by Commissioner Garay. I will call the roll. Chair Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner Garay,
Yes.
and Commissioner Olson.
Yes.
Thank you. Item 6A13 is conditionally approved.
Move to 6B with Belmont, Evangeline Downs, Mountaineer Park, Woodbine, Century Mile, Hastings Park, Churchill Downs, Presque Isle Downs, Louisiana Downs, Fairmont Park, Delta Downs, Jack Thistle Down, Emerald Downs, and Finger Lakes. Upon previous review, it looked like we had all the documents. Mr. Duncan, anything you want to add to that?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman. All the contracts have been put in for Turf Paradise items 1 through 14.
I am a little concerned on some of the dates for these agreements. Mr. Gussman, do you want to add anything to that? That said, I'll move that we approve 6B Turf Paradises 1 through 14.
I will second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Chair Coolidge and a second by Commissioner Garay. I will call the roll. Chair Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner Garay,
Yes.
and Commissioner Olson.
Yes.
Thank you. Items 6B 1 through 14 are approved.
Move to 6C Rillito Park, Churchill Downs. One question I have on this one is it's just a 1-day meet. Is that correct?
Kentucky Derby.
No, geez. Perfect. Okay. I'll move that we approve Rillito Park, Churchill Downs.
Second that.
Thank you. I have a motion by Chair Coolidge and a second by Commissioner Garay. I will call the roll. Chair Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner Gray,
Yes.
and Commissioner Olson.
Yes.
Thank you. That agreement is approved.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, this is Mike Weiss. May I speak for a moment?
Go ahead, Mr. Weiss.
Okay. I just wanted to state on this, I mean, we were approved in number 3 for Saturday, May 7th for Derby Day and June 11th, which is Belmont Day. We have a previous contract with New York, NYRA in place. May 21st on there was Preakness Day, and that was only in the hopes in case we can get something worked out for the state for the Preakness. Also, along with this import of Churchill Downs signal, we were allowing and had submitted for the, Santa Cruz County Fair, for them to also import it. And they were, in light of being a good neighbor, we were letting them piggyback off of us, and we're loaning them equipment and televisions and anything else we can to make it work. So I just wanted to make sure that they were approved also under this, and that was how it was requested.
Appreciate it, sir. Mr. Author, you have your hand raised. Do you have something else to add?
Well, we just had a question. Were 6A 1 through 12 approved? It looked like you focused on Sunray. I just want to confirm the other ones are approved also.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You bet. We'll move to,
Well, I just had so with what Mr. Weiss was saying, were we supposed to be approving something else under Churchill Downs for them?
It was also supposed to be for Santa Cruz County Fair. You approved their live day, May 7th, but they also were importing Churchill Downs. And the contract and requests were sent in simultaneously.
Commissioner Garay, this is Brian from the Arizona Department of Gaming.
go ahead.
So it is in the contract. They are a secondary signal in there. It is in the contract for Sonoyta.
Okay, so it should have been on the agenda.
It's actually on Rillito's contract, that they're only secondary.
Okay,
It's
so
almost like an OTB as well.
I guess
So-
I'm not following how that shakes out. Can you?
Mr. Duncan, are you saying that by approving the Rillito signal, we also approved it as a secondary market?
That is correct.
Okay, so we don't have any further action needed on that.
That would be correct, Commissioner.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
You bet. Mr. Weiss, thanks for jumping in and providing some clarity there for us. We'll move to 7A. These are the simulcast horse racing import signals pursuant to IHA section 3004A3 for Arizona Downs. Looks like 1 through 13, the same as before. Mr. Duncan, any other issues now that we have the 112U approvals?
Well, I just want to clarify in the analysis that I put in the packet, items 1 through 8 are complete. Items 9 through 13, we're missing either the host commission or the host horseman. Now that the 5112Us are complete. I did receive Delta Downs this morning from Arizona Downs. So that one is also complete. But items 9, 10, 11, and 13 still are missing documentation. And as before, we'll make sure that they are turned in before they turn the signal on.
Appreciate that. Any questions or concerns from my fellow commissioners on it? I'll make a motion to approve our simulcast horse race import signals pursuant to IHA section 3004A3 for 7A 1 through 8.
And 12, Chair, I'd like to move to amend. No?
No. Well, you can make a motion. I'm just saying I'm only going to move to formally approve 1 through 8.
I'll second it.
Thank you. I have a motion by Chair Coolidge and a second by Commissioner Olson. I will call the roll. Chair Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner Olson,
Yes.
and Commissioner Garay.
Yes.
Thank you. Those import signals are approved.
I'll move to conditionally approve 7A 9 through 13, provided the department and the commission receive all prerequisite documents and everything that is in order, and it will not have to come back to the commission to putting that back on the department to approve so that they can move forward quickly.
Well, just one question. I thought Mr. Duncan said number 12, Delta Downs, did have all the paperwork in.
I just haven't seen it.
Oh.
That's why I want to make sure
Okay.
everything's together on it. And the conditional would cover that.
Okay, then I agree with you. I will second that.
Thank you. I have a motion by Chair Coolidge and a second by Commissioner Gray. I will call the roll. Chair Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner Gray,
Yes.
and Commissioner Olson.
Yes.
Thank you. Those import signals are approved, conditionally approved.
We'll move to, 7B, Turf Paradise, 1 through 14 is listed. Mr. Duncan, you want to itemize any other changes or missing documents there?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What I will say is just on the analysis that I did send in the packet, items 1 through 5 are complete. Items 6 through 14 are missing either the host commission or the host horseman. And as always, we will make sure those are turned in prior to them turning the signal in. And also would like to point out, as you guys discussed earlier, the HBPA has only given consent through September 1st. After September 1st, HBPA would have to resend a approval to TURF and then have TURF submit that to us as well before they could turn them back on after September 1st.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments from my commissioners? I'll go ahead and move that we approve B 1 through 5.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Chair Coolidge and a second by Commissioner Gray. I will call the roll. Chair Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner Gray,
Yes.
and Commissioner Olson.
Yes.
Thank you. Those signals are approved.
I'll go ahead and, well, I know that we don't need to do an overview of how important the horseman's approval is on these dates. And I know that we've gone back and forth quite a bit between Turf Paradise and the horseman. So I hope that you guys can figure out what the issue is there. That said, I'll move that we conditionally approve B 6 through 14, provided the track receive all prerequisite information and submit that to the department and allow the department to move forward quickly so that we can make those adjustments.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Chair Coolidge and a second by Commissioner Gray. I will call the roll. Chair Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner Gray,
Yes.
and Commissioner Olson.
Yes.
Thank you. Those signals are conditionally approved.
Moving to the last one, which is C1. All the documents look to be in order unless I'm missing anything. Mr. Duncan, I'll make my motion.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Rillito is in the same as most. The Arizona HBPA has been turned in, just missing the host commission, host horseman. And we do recommend that they be approved upon, conditionally approved, I'm sorry, and until we get the documentation for those.
We will, I'll move to conditionally approve Rillito Parks, Churchill Downs, anticipated dates, provided that they provide all prerequisite materials to the department and allow the department to make that approval and move quickly that way.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Chair Coolidge and a second by Commissioner Gray. I will do the roll call. Chair Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner Gray,
Yes.
and Commissioner Olson.
Yes.
Thank you. That simulcast signal is approved.
I just, Mr. Chair, I would just like to ask a question. I'm pretty sure everything's covered, but I did just want to make sure and ask Brian, as with regards to Kentucky Derby, we're good. There's not going to be any need for an emergency meeting or anything in the next couple of weeks.
No, we are good for the Kentucky Derby.
Good, thank you.
Thanks for that clarification, Commissioner. Dr. Gale, do you have a track safety report for us, please?
Yes, Chair Coolidge, Commissioners, it appears my video camera isn't working, so I'm just going to turn that off. And so it's been a very busy few months here, and I will just give a bit of a summary. I believe you have this in your packet. But for the 12-month rolling average, going back from March 31st back to April 1st of 2020, the fatality rate per 1,000 starts is 3.34. I did divide that out by each racetrack for their meet dates during that period. For Arizona Downs last summer, June through September 15th, their rate was 1.37. For Turf Paradise, beginning of the meet in November through the end of March, their rate is 2.99. Rillito did have several breakdown fatalities, and their rate, because they have so few starts, is if they had one fatality, their rate would be 4. And of course, they had more than that. So that rate is somewhat limited in its value. Talking some more about Rillito, I did get reports from the track veterinarian down there, and after the first weekend, she was very involved with working with the track superintendent and going over the track. She would walk the track every day and then make suggestions. And again, just noticed some inconsistencies, which certainly could lead to the increase of injuries that happened that first weekend. And so some of that resolution, I think, helped reduce the number of breakdowns that they had as the meet went on. And again, the last 2 weekends were conducted safely. The other thing I will mention in regards of just gross numbers of racing fatalities, I looked back for the past couple of years and recognized that 2019, the race meet of 2019, 2020, or fiscal year 2020, I should say, which was shortened by COVID. At that time, there were about 22 afternoon racing fatalities across all 3 tracks. The previous year, which was a full season and included the beginning of Arizona Downs, the number was 20 across all tracks. And again, this year to date, across all tracks for the fiscal year now, it's 22. So we haven't really done much on an annual basis to change those rates. However, I will make a note that the last thoroughbred breakdown that we had at Turf Paradise was March 4th. We did have one horse thoroughbred that came off the track and collapsed March 11th. And then we did have on March 24th a quarter horse that did suffer a spinal injury. And so that's the first quarter horse we've had at Turf Paradise in quite some time. And it's an injury that is more typical of a younger horse. So that's kind of the update on the numbers of fatalities and breakdowns. I will say that for the past month, we've had a regulatory veterinarian from Texas who has brought a ton of experience and has been a great resource for both myself and the track veterinarian here at Turf Paradise, Dr. Butler, giving us a great deal of insight. And as one would expect, as the meet goes toward the latter end of it, the horses are starting to show some wear and tear, and we've been having to scratch several horses each day. But again, I think that's been a positive contributor to reducing the fatalities. And again, with the team we've had in place, it's been the best group of folks I've worked with since I've been with the department for 5 years. And so again, going forward, I hope we can continue to have such quality in the veterinarians that are regulating the races. Again, the veterinarian down at Rillito was also very fantastic, tons of experience. I believe she's going to be at the Douglas Fair and the Sonoita Fair also. The other topic I will address is the Horse Racing Integrity and Safety Act, that the safety rules were approved in March and are due to go into effect July 1st. And the three key points I'll make about that. Number one is avoid claim rule is in the federal act. And I know that that might be a topic for discussion later in the meeting. And I think that's something that would make a huge difference at this track or in this state in preventing some of these breakdowns that we have. What the void claim rule, again, just to review, does is that any horse that is claimed is examined after the race for soundness. And if the horse is unsound, then the claim is voided. So the purpose of this is to prevent the entry of horses that might get past the pre-race check, but really have some issues and that show up after they've run a race. And so that somebody doesn't pay the claiming price for a horse that's not fit to race. The other things that are in the Horse Racing Act is going to be inspection of the tracks to be accredited. There's going to be standards of measurements. Again, there's a number of tracks across the country that have been part of the Racetrack Integrity and Safety organization that have set standards that are pretty similar to what's going to be in HISA. And so those tracks are going to be fully accredited come July. All the rest of the tracks are going to have a provisional accreditation that's good for a year. And so in that year, the federal authority will evaluate the tracks and give directives on how the tracks are supposed to meet the requirements of the act in terms of maintenance, consistency, and record keeping. And then the last thing that's been included is the Equine Safety Committee. Again, that's something that we had done here in the last couple of years, reviewing the different breakdowns and trying to find any particular cause that we can remedy. And again, that'll be something going forward that we'll need to enact again in order to, again, reach that goal of reducing breakdowns. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Do have one question. What is the current national average?
The Jockey Club did just publish that number, and if I remember correctly, it's approximately 1.39. Again, I believe I read that it's the lowest it's been in about 10 or 11 years. So again, there's been improvements nationwide, and that you can compare that figure to Arizona figures.
With regards to, and I agree with you on the claiming rule, I think that would have prevented a lot of the issues we had this year. But has there been any talk ensuring the racing secretaries aren't entering horses that, may have just ran at turf and then are, that weekend are running at Rillito and then turning right around and coming back to turf and running again?
Again, I don't know if there's a rule regarding that specifically in HISA. I know that we do not have a rule. The only limitation that's in Arizona Administrative Code is that a horse cannot run in more than one race a day. And that's where that stands. So I'd have to look at HISA a little closer and see if they have any limits on number of days that horses need to have off before they race again. But we still have some horses that are racing anywhere between 8 and 14 days apart, frequent starters. I haven't noticed that they've had any more incidents of lameness, but I'd have to probably look at that more closely.
Doc, I'll just jump in and say, it's refreshing to hear that you're excited about the team that you guys have assembled over there and appreciate all the work that you're doing on these. And as far as scratching, having an increased scratch rate, I know no one on this commission is going to be upset about making sure that we're protecting the horses as much as we can. So again, thank you for all your diligence there.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to the budget report, Mr. Casillas, or excuse me, Director Casillas or Mr. LaForest.
Yes, Chairman. Mr. LaForest is not available this week. There's not much to report regarding the budget. I don't believe that we have anything of major concern with the existing budget as is. However, I want to share some information with the commission going forward, as Dr. Gill was mentioning HISA. With that being said, HISA is expecting every racing jurisdiction to either voluntarily implement the HISA model rules and what have you. They have estimated that the cost to Arizona Racing would be approximately $355,000 for their oversight of the HISA program. We are going to have internal meetings with OSPB and the department to get some guidance and direction as to whether or not we will implement such program and pay that additional cost. We have concerns regarding that matter, where the funds going to come from. Additionally, we're looking at the possibility of getting the legislature to either lift the restriction on the RWA so that we can hire adequate staffing for the racing division so we can more thoroughly regulate the activities of all race meets. So there's some concerns going forward with HISA and the RWA, but I just wanted to put that out there, put it on your radar.
I did have a question. I understand the expense, and then HISA is going into effect here soon. But when is the actual check due to pay for HISA?
I believe we have until the first week of May to make our decision and let them know what we're intending to do.
Any other questions? Thank you, Director. Mr. Guessman, I know we've spoken a little bit about the Horse Racing Integrity Act. Do you want to add anything to that?
Yes, Chairman and Commissioners. Leroy Guessman with the National HBPA update. I'll just update you on the fact that Judge Hendricks dismissed our case. He stated the following things in his comments. Judge Hendricks acknowledged his court cannot expand or constrict the precedents, which basically he cannot strike anything Congress passes in his court. The horsemen are correct that HISA creates a novel structure, the nationalization regulation of the horse racing industry. Although the horsemen make compelling arguments that HISA has gone way too far, only appellate courts may expand or constrict precedents. This court cannot, which kind of set us up to do an appeal. So 15 minutes after his decision was released, our legal team filed an appeal. As soon as the Fifth Circuit opens its docket for the case, our attorneys will then file a motion to expedite the briefing in an effort to receive a decision by July 1st. So that's kind of where the HBPA is on it. I would ask that this commission and Department of Racing do everything they can to defray these costs into the budget. The horsemen and the racetracks in the state of Arizona are struggling already to dump another $350,000 on top of expense for the horsemen and the racetracks is just not something the Arizona horsemen can afford or the tracks. And I will just add a note that it was a press release last week by the Texas Racing Commission that if HISA is not stopped either by our lawsuit or the lawsuit from the attorney generals from several states around the country, that racing will be suspended on July 1st in the state of Texas. If you have any other questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from my commissioners?
None from me. Thanks for the update.
Okay, we'll move to the Permittee Reports, American Greyhound Racing.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Aaron Feinberg for American Greyhound Racing. No major update this month, but I did want to make mention that a few times on the call today, I've heard that there was a notice sent out to permittee holders about the requirements on changes within the OTB network system. And I was corresponding with my counterpart down in Tucson, Alicia, and both her and myself, we did not receive that. So I would ask the department if they could send that to us. That would be much appreciated. And secondly, I'm not sure about next month's meeting, if there's going to be an in-person meeting, but I would make a request that the department and commission consider allowing the Google Meets to continue to be an option, as there are people, again, that make quite a bit of travel arrangements around the state to come to those meetings. And I think with these meetings, they've become quite productive with Google Meet, and I'd like that to still be an option. I remember the days pre-COVID where Mr. Johnson had to take his cell phone and put it up to a speaker so people could listen in. And we've made quite some inroads with technology. So I'd ask if they do return to in-person meetings that they consider making Google Meets a continued option. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, this is Director Vogt. May I be heard?
Yes, Director. Thank you.
I just want to let everybody know that our plan is to have a hybrid model, so that, you know, there will be an in-person as well as a virtual option available. We're still in the process of moving into our new facilities and getting everything set up. It's taking longer than we'd hoped because of the supply chain issues, but just want to assure everybody that we're going to make both options available.
Thank you, Director. We'll move to B, Arizona Downs.
Thank you, Coolidge and Commissioners. This is Tom Author. Just wanted to bring everybody up to date. We've been working daily, long hours with the HBPA to come to terms on our meet this summer. I can announce today that all of this subject, obviously, to the Commission's approval. We have agreed with the HBPA to start running the 25th of June and run for 2 days a week, switching to 3 days a week once we get, and assuming we get a horse count that supports that. We would then run till Labor Day. So the number of days would vary a little, somewhere between 25 and 30 days probably would be the total. The purses appear to be in the $100,000 a day area, perhaps more. And we should have that finalized. I guess I need a bit of a clarification. We need to have that to the department 15 days prior to the next commission meeting. Is that correct?
Mr. Director.
That is correct, sir.
Okay, so I don't have a calendar in front of me and I'd have to take my shoes off to count, but I believe that's something like Wednesday. So we'll meet that deadline. I will say this: the HBPA has been very helpful. It's been a bit of a tough negotiation, but they really do look out for the welfare of their members, and we've enjoyed a good relationship with them. And we really hope we can get this all approved and put on another great meet. Again, it is subject to the department's approval, and that's really all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. County Fairs? Mr. Weiss, do you have anything for Rillito?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I just want to make a quick statement in light of a pretty rough start, in a short time frame. We ran a really nice abbreviated season, only 12 days, but I have to say that we were averaging well over 5,000 people a day. We had record handles. Our food and beverage had a lot of compliments on the changes we made and in the new judges stand, and we tried to fix things up. I was proud to say the U of A program that we had put in place with the students was expanded beyond just the racetrack industry program. We had journalism students, we had vet students, the racing students. I mean, they handled a little bit of everything from the racing office to on-air personalities to even holding the cameras. So it really turned out to be a nice program there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. I know Tucson Greyhound Park doesn't have any updates. Turf Paradise?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, after today, there'll be 8 more days left of the live race meet, which will conclude on Saturday, May 7th, Kentucky Derby Day. I'd like to thank the horsemen, the Arizona horsemen, the out-of-state horsemen, and the Canadian-based horsemen for competing this meet, bringing their horses down, and also our jockeys. It was quite a jockey colony this year, very competitive and very good. And that's all I have to report at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Appreciate it. We'll move to D5, the Stakeholder Association updates. Arizona counties. Arizona Quarter Horse.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Director Lloyd Yoso, the Arizona Arizona AQRA and B, Quarter Racing and Breeders. I'd like to announce that I do have a couple of little shining stars that next Wednesday, the 27th, we have our President's Futurity, Open Futurity. That's going to be conducted at Turf Paradise, one of the first or second races during the day, and it's a $73,912.50 purse. And the same day, Wednesday the 27th, the Desert Classic Futurity for $97,250 purse. This is where we should have been all through these past years if we had a viable and a cooperative and a good race meet with a good breed program. But I guess I'm preaching to the choir on that issue. The other thing is unfortunately, I have nothing else to that's been definitively discussed or directed for numerous issues that we could be talking about, i.e. race dates. Everybody knows the drill. So that's all I have to report at this time.
Appreciate it, sir. All good updates. Arizona Thoroughbred Breeders. HBPA.
Yes, Chairman, Leroy Gussman with the HBPA, Commissioners and Director. First of all, I'd like to say, I think it was Chairman Coolidge and maybe Director Cochise that made the Preakness happen last year in the final minutes of the week prior. I was hoping that someone out of all of the people listening here would take it upon themselves, or I'm not sure who the lead person should be, but somebody should be reaching out to Monarch and see if we can get the signal for the Preakness again. You never know, this could be the year of a Triple Crown winner. In the public comment section to agenda this morning, one of our members is going to give you a report on the avoided claiming rule. I cannot stress enough how important it is to get this claiming rule resolved. I'm not sure where we are with the rule passing or the legislative issues that need to be done. Basaha is trying to help in any way he can. That's our lobbyist down at the legislature. He is trying to do whatever he can, but he's not getting much direction. We need to have this happen, and I'm not sure where we are with it or how to make it happen, but we've got to get this voided claim rule passed. Also, the Arizona HPPA has been working diligently with Arizona Downs to get the race meet up and running. I think one thing that would help out a lot in getting this race meet finalized is if the funds that Senator Gowan worked so hard to get set up for the horsemen's purses and the permittees' safety and operating costs from the setback that all three tracks suffered from the pandemic. Those funds were to be made available on July 1st of 2021. And as of today, those funds still haven't been released. I don't know where the hangup is, but I just wish the commission and the department would figure out how to get these funds out to the individual tracks so we could keep the racing going in Arizona. It'd be very helpful to all three tracks on safety issues as well as just infrastructure issues that need to be done. And with that, I will close unless there's any questions.
No questions, but I would agree with you, Leroy, on the claiming role. That needs to be the utmost importance. And I also do agree that these funds need to be released. It's important to our tracks to keep operating and keep the business going here.
Mr. Chairman, may I be heard?
Go ahead, Director.
And Commissioner and Director Cochise, you can chime in if I get anything wrong. All the parties are aware of what they are required to do for the state funds and the federal funds. The state funds have been distributed. Is that correct, Director Cochise?
That's correct, sir.
The federal funds are on a reimbursement basis. We've worked very diligently with the parties involved to help them understand that, and we will certainly release those and distribute those monies when those requirements are met.
If I can just add to that, Mr. Chairman, we've been working diligently with each permittee regarding the federal funds. Some of the requirements are that they're to submit a spending plan and categorize all expenditures by operations, maintenance, and safety. And because it is federal tax money, we will probably be audited, and it is a reimbursement model. Therefore, the permittees are required to submit the spending plan up front. We will then follow up after the fact and review all expenses and receipts and what have you to reimburse those submitted requests for payments. We have an obligation to the federal government to send this money out as appropriate, and we have a very large concern regarding being audited and found, with our pants down, basically. So we are working on a daily basis with the permittees to get the documentations into us with their spending plan, and we have reminded them that it is a reimbursement model. It's not a we'll distribute all the monies up front and check on it after the fact.
And I could just add in for what the director said. In my real job, the project I'm working on, one of them for the Department of Transportation, Hawaii, is ensuring the federal grants issue is resolved and how it's appropriately tracked, and it is a big item.
Mr. Lloyd, you want to add something to that?
Yes, sir. I'd like to just ask the question. Is the department or anyone checking with the permittees to see if they're making any progress or moving at all toward using this money? It appears to me that none of the money is being used properly or being used at all. Everybody's sitting waiting on either the department to distribute the money or the permittees to spend the money and request reimbursements. The communications between the different individuals that's supposed to make this happen. I mean, we're a year into this thing almost, and we're still basically where we were last July when it started.
I appreciate it, sir. Okay, Jockeys Guild. All right, we'll move down to the commission reports. Commissioner Gorey, do you want to place anything on future agendas?
Actually, yeah, one, I would like to have on the next month, get a public update as where we are with regards to the Sims versus Sims case, because I know a lot of people in the public do have interest as to where we stand with that item.
Agreed. Director Cochise, would you mind making a note of that, and we can work together to get it added to the next agenda?
Yes, sir, will do.
Chair, one other item that might make sense to place on a future agenda, if I may. Given, HISA's implementation, it might make sense to start including an action item on just like a report from the department as well on the implementation, or just updates regarding it from the department's perspective.
Sure.
Thank you.
We can add that to the next agenda as well, and future if we need to. Okay, move down to call of the public. Looks like I have 3 people that are signed to speak, and I see that Stacy Campo has her hand raised, so we'll start there. Stacy, you might be on mute.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay, good. Okay, thank you. This is Stacy Campo. Chair and Commissioners, thank you for giving me the time. You guys touched base with the grants that are, to be distributed to these tracks to help. One of the things is us breeders didn't get any money for the grants, but yet we kept breeding and producing products for all tracks at Arizona. But the thing is, that money, we need that money being released so we can try to get reimbursed for the time we been spending breeding our horses, running them, and waiting patiently to keep year-round racing. So, this industry is kept alive in the state of Arizona with the breeders. These breeders have been here since it began. I've watched these farms struggle, and I've watched a lot of them close. Thank goodness I've been able to stay here, and knowing that after 10 years of sitting, waiting for year-round racing to happen, we were able to do that with the Arizona Downs being able to come forward and purchase it. When that 10 years went by, we struggled to keep breeding, and knowing that the state also took our breed money, and we were running for nothing. So with a grant that could be given to the racetrack, we feel like we're almost getting our money kind of reimbursed to us by being able to keep breeding and running. We don't leave the state. Us breeders tend to stay here and follow these tracks, and whatever you guys decide to do by letting them open and run or shutting them down because of COVID. We still stay here every year, and we still produce we are a big family, and we have fought the fight, and we know a lot of the Canadians and the people that come from other states that come and join us to run, and some of them have stuck around here around, which is fantastic. So I really need that money released just so we can get reimbursed for the time period of 10 months that we didn't get to do anything. You know, not just the track sufferer, but, you know, we're suffering as breeders, but we're fighters, and we're going to keep fighting to be here for you guys and keep producing a product, a good product. You know, we have a stallion standing now in the state, and he has every right to be able to fire many horses that could possibly shine. You know, turf is our home, but we've made Arizona down to Rillito our home too. So they all need to be compensated, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Miss Cynthia?
Thank you, commissioners. I hope you can hear me okay. My name is Cynthia George, and I'm an owner trainer in Arizona. I'm also the administrator of a Facebook page called Arizona Horseracing Bulletin Board, which has over 2,000 members. I review the board daily and have noticed a dramatic increase in horsemen requesting that a voided claim rule be put into effect here in Arizona due to various events. So I have done some research on this topic that I believe needs to be shared. I have researched multiple articles as well as statistics from the Turf Paradise meet, which includes the fatality tracker and claims report that extends from November 4th to April 7th. Let me restate that the purpose of a voided claim rule is to prevent a transfer of ownership if a horse is injured during a claiming race. The rule may also include that the claim is voided if upon inspection by the state vet that the claimed horse is found to have bled or is lame. In my search, I found an article in the Thoroughbred Racing Commentary written by Patrick Lawrence Gilligan, dated December 16th, 2020, that was titled, "The Voided Claim Rule, the very idea of not having it belongs in the Stone Age." In this article, it was stated that Professor Tim Parkin, who collates the information from the Jockeys Club Equine Injury Database, has stated that, according to statistics gathered, horses running in claiming races are 20% more likely to experience a fatal catastrophic incident in such races compared with non-claiming races. When, however, rules are introduced where claims are voided, if the horse suffers a catastrophic injury during a race, then the injury rate comes down. And when stricter rules are introduced that state the claim is void if the horse is even lame or has bled after its race, then the injury rate falls again by 25%. Considering these findings, I believe that this rule is very beneficial in improving safety for our riders and equine athletes. When I reviewed information I obtained through the Arizona HBPA, I found that since the beginning of the meet on November 4th through April 7th, there were 653 actual claims at Turf Paradise. I found out that out of 18 race-related fatalities, that 3 or 17% were horses that were claimed. In addition to these statistics, I looked up every horse that was claimed from November 4th through February 28th to see how many horses a voided claim rule would have possibly affected. I found that 340 horses were claimed a total of 502 times in that time period. After looking up all these horses in Equipace, I found that 47 of the 340 horses never returned to race as of current record. This means approximately 14% did not return to a racing career for whatever reason after being claimed in this time period. Arizona needs to move forward with rules that advocate for the horse. There needs to be more focus on implementing rules that protect the industry as a whole. I have asked many different people within our industry about why our state is behind the times, and I get the same story every time. I am told that there's not a state statute that supports the voided claim rule. That needs to change. I ask that the state help the horsemen to advocate for the horse and improve overall safety by taking the necessary measures so that a voided claim rule may be put into effect. Thank you for your time.
Would it be possible to get a copy of your report?
Yes, it would. I can email it. I've also spoke with Dr. Gale and with Leroy Guessman of HBPA.
Okay, we'll move to Mr. Kevin.
Hello. Have you got me?
Yes, sir.
I lost you. Hi, this is Kevin Owens. Good afternoon, commissioners, chairman, Department of Racing. I would first off like to invite everybody out today to the races. It's Arizona Bread Day, a full slate of Arizona's best and brightest. Come enjoy all the hospitality that Turf chooses to offer. The funding for the Arizona Bread program is proving to be a success, as I've talked to Marvin Fleming at Fleming Farms, which is the largest breeder in the state, and they currently have 120 mares on the books, which is quite an improvement over 60 that were foaled statewide just a short number of years ago. Part of the importance of keeping this up is Prescott Racing. Without year-round racing, I feel that the full crop will recess and start to go backwards. So we need to get these guys up and going. Also to the department, you guys are a conduit for the money, not to be holding it. We need to get the funds that are being generated for the breed program and for all permittees and stakeholders out as soon as possible. Not waiting a year like Prescott's been waiting for their funds from the feds. That's all I have to offer, but welcome, come to the races. Come enjoy the day. Thank you.
Appreciate it, sir. We'll move to G. The next regularly scheduled commission meeting will be at 10 a.m. on Thursday, May 12th. Not sure if we addressed that it will be via Google Meet or not, but we'll have both available. With that, I'd hear a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Henry Gonzalez, horse owner. Could I speak, please, on the fair behalf?
I'm sorry, sir.
I will withdraw my motion.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, my name is Andres Gonzalez. I'm a horse owner, have been for the last 20 years in the state. We're having an issue with a couple of the bush people that are still left around out here in rural Arizona, and that is the workouts. I myself cannot afford to go to Phoenix back and forth just to get some works for some fair horses that I plan to run. And I was wondering, I've been told by a steward in Arizona that will be there that we cannot accept workouts from Douglas. I cannot afford to go back to Phoenix to work. I myself have a full-time job. I'm doing this for the love of the sport. Is there any way, maybe, and if not today, later for a commission meeting next month, that you can approve a track that requires works in Arizona to accept works from that track? That's all I got to say. And if not, then, people like me, we can't run in Sonoyta because can't afford to be going back and forth. If that could happen, I'd appreciate that on behalf of the little guys that are still left out here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'd go ahead and direct the department staff to be able to help you with that. So you might reach out to the department directly to see if you might be able to get that resolved.
Chairman.
Okay, yeah, I have. Oh, go ahead, Dr. Sue.
Yeah, thanks. This is Dr. Gale, if I may comment.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I've been taking a number of calls this week, and there does seem to be a little bit of confusion about county fair rules versus commercial meet rules. Again, I'm not sure exactly who I need to get a hold of to inform the folks at the county fairs that in order for a horse to run that has not run in over a year at a commercial meet, they have to have 2 works within 2 months, and 1 has to be observed by the vet. For county fairs, that requirement is up to the state veterinarian. And I've tried to communicate this down to the racing office, and I'm having some difficulty. And it should also be noted that the county fairs, last time they ran was 2019 due to COVID. So there's a number of horses that only run at county fairs that have been idle. So I'm just maybe directing these comments to my supervisors at the department, and just to see if we can get a little more cooperation from the folks that are running the county fairs on getting these horses able to enter.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Director, if you're still on, could I have you run point on this with Dr. Gale?
Yes, and I agree with what she has said. We need to communicate that information regarding horses that haven't run in some time, and regarding Mr. Gonzalez's question regarding the workouts. I have instructed the racing division regarding the remote areas that have racing, that we would accept the workout times as long as we had a licensed clocker available to capture that horse's workout time so that it can be listed in the program as appropriate. So we will work with them on that particular matter, but we will reach out to county fairs regarding Dr. Gale's concern regarding horses that haven't raced or worked out in some time.
Thank you, Director. That said, Commissioner Gore, do you want to make your motion?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Commissioner Gray and a second by Commissioner Olson to adjourn the meeting. I will call the roll. Commissioner Gray,
Yes.
Commissioner Olson,
Yes.
and Chair Coolidge.
Yes.
Thank you. The time is 12:51 and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.